Oh no.
Are you in this? Are you at the studio?
No,
I'm in my studio, yes.
his own personal studio.
Okay.
Dun, 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 yeah.
So, bros, you're in South Point right now.
No, I'm not in South Point. I moved from South Point. That's why you haven't been seeing me now.
Where are you now?
I'm on the mainland. I'm in Ebutimeta.
Okay.
So I have my place and my studio.
Alright, so we're live now.
Okay.
I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. Woo!
Hello, this is Jessica Bongo.
Good morning, everyone.
To the Smooth Breakfast Show.
The Smooth Breakfast presents the headline, stories, the news, in-depth analysis, national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Headlines.
Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. I'm Mairo-Ese, and it is time for today's edition of Freshly Pressed 981. This is where we bring you detailed analyses of the day's national news stories, and it's 7:30 right now, 27th April 2021. Joining me on today's show are Mr. C. Good morning, Mr. C. Good to have you on the show today.
Good morning, Naya. Good morning, Lagos.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. C. Also joining me this morning is Uade. Morning, Uade. How are you today?
Morning, Ayo. Great to be here. Good morning, Lagos.
Great to have you. We have Mr. C, Mr. C on Twitter, and Uade at Reinc Nigeria on Twitter. We are both, or we are all of us, not both, but three of us are live on your YouTube channel. YouTube page is Smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can watch what's going on and listen to us there. Also use the live chat option to send us your message for today. You can also send us a tweet at Smooth 981 FM. Use the hashtag Freshly Pressed 981 so we can read your message, and also you can share with the world. You can send us a WhatsApp message on 0809-444-0981. These are the options for you to get engaged with us this morning on the show. Let's get to it this morning. We have some very interesting headlines to get through, and Wade, I'll be starting with you. And our first story here is channel suspension. So in case you didn't know, Channels TV station was written a letter after a feature on their program Politics Today on Sunday, April 25, 2021, where allegedly they interviewed the spokesperson of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and he allegedly made inciting statements. The NBC in the letter, that's the National Broadcasting Commission, ordered the immediate suspension of the program. Now, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, NGE, has come to condemn in strong terms the threat issued to the station. In some reports, it's been said that they've been fined as well. Now, Uade, we know and understand the importance of free press for a thriving democracy. And we also understand the impact of gagging the press in a democracy. I'm glad the Nigerian Guild of Editors have come out. They haven't said much, but it'll be interesting to know to what extent they would go to protect the press, in terms of free speech, in terms of free press, really. Please take us through the story from the Vanguard newspaper.
Ayo, this story brings to mind Decree 4, 1984. That's where I need to start from. We're back to the era of saying people should not talk.
Well, just a second. Could I ask you please speak into your mic? If you could project, I'd be most grateful. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Much better, thanks.
Okay, so what I was saying, it brings to mind Decree 4 of 1984, and for me, it just goes to show how much we've gone back in time to the freedom of speech in Nigeria over the last 23 years of democracy, of democratic rule in Nigeria. It's amazing that we have a government who believes that free speech should be guarded. This is the same government which came into power riding on the back of free speech. So it becomes, I'm really lost for words, Ayo, and I'm happy that the Nigerian Guild of Editors have actually come out to speak. And my statement to them will be, they should go all out and ensure that this stops. Everywhere you go, someone says something, is either it's treason against a government official, or you are inciting people, and it's really sad that we as a country over the last 23 years have developed freedom of speech to the extent where people are able to share their ideas, share their opinions. And we have seen how all these things have changed the narratives for how governance has been. But in the last 5-6 years, we're back to 1984. Decree 4 just comes to mind. Very soon, if we are not careful, you will start to arrest press people for saying things on air. But if they're speaking the truth, then why don't you just go back and look at the things that need to be done and ensure that we put the right things in place? It's just a sad situation.
All right, thanks a lot for your take on this, Uade. I think it's important for me to read from this article what the Guild have said. They said they will not stand by and watch media houses being threatened by regulatory agencies in the country. Press freedom is threatened when media houses are made to operate in an atmosphere of fear.
Yeah.
They said the Guild stands with channels and will go to any length to defend press freedom in the country. This is not the first time. In terms of having letters written, say this, do not say this. Mr. C, I see a hand up. I'll come to you now. But I'd like you to touch on this aspect of the article that talks about the body of editors believing that the NBC is guilty of double standards because stations that carried Sheikh Gumi's parley with terrorists in their camps were not sanctioned by the commission. Mr. C.
Okay, let Mr. C go.
Okay.
So, Ayo, yes, so this is just to piggyback on what Uade has been saying. Yes, there have been increasingly shocking double standards. Now, what did the IPOB spokesman say that was radically different from what Sheikh Abubakar Gumi has been saying over the past few months? Now, the IPOB spokesperson has really been talking about Biafra and how it can be actualized and how the government of the day is determined not to see it happen. Sheikh Gumi has made several insightful statements. Once he alleged that non-Muslim elements in the Nigerian army were attacking Muslims. He was never called to explain that statement. All we got was the Nigerian army advised him to retract that statement. So it's increasingly looking like some elements can say anything under the sun and get away with it. Some other elements will say something similar or a bit less, and then they're being castigated. Now, where will this stop? If the spokesperson of IPOB cannot address Nigerians, remember, IPOB is proscribed. The spokesperson is not. He is still a Nigerian. He still has his rights under the constitution of the land, and he's free to express his views. If they feel so aggrieved about the content of those views, then they should seek their day in court so that they can get legal clarification as to what can be said. And this is a very golden opportunity for the Nigerian Guild of Editors to now test the provisions of this so-called broadcasting code, especially the 6th review, which had a lot of complaints, and get some of these provisions out because they clash violently with the provisions of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Uade, you are going to say something.
Yeah. Just to add to that, it's like you said, this is the time for the Nigerian Guild of Editors to take a stand on what they feel is right and what they feel is wrong. And like you said, they need to go to court. There are so many things that came out in the last edition of the communication policy that everybody has been complaining about, and not once has the government gone back to sit back and say, well, let's have a dialogue and talk about this. And so it becomes strange with double standards. So if Mr. C says something and I don't like Mr. C, or because I like Ayo for saying something, I'll say Mr. C. But if you feel that what Mr. C has said is insightful, then call him in and question him and tell him, oh, you shouldn't say things like this. But the freedom of speech for Nigerians is gradually being taken away, and it's sad. Really, really sad.
All right. Thank you. I think also beyond the freedom of speech, like has been mentioned, a number of people are quite concerned as to what they consider as double standards. Shegun says, when the British government prescribed the IRA, they banned TV stations from broadcasting voices of IRA terrorists on air. There are double standards concerning Boko Haram, so there must be a blanket ban on all terrorists threatening the nation on air, says Shegun. So the idea is, yes, okay, if you're saying that because they are prescribed, they shouldn't have that platform, then you should make sure that you're wielding the big stick across boards and ensuring that people who are also making insightful statements on air should be cautioned as well. Thank you. Let's move on to our next story quickly, Mr. C. Boko Haram now occupying Niger communities, according to the governor, Abubakar Sani Bello. This report is in the Premium Times. He confirmed this on Monday, saying the terrorists have displaced over 3,000 residents of the affected community. They said that Boko Haram has hoisted its flags in Kaore and Shiroro local government area of the state. Now, bear in mind that the north central state is about 140 kilometers to the Federal Capital Territory, which is Nigeria's seat of power. This was trending yesterday, that they're getting closer to Abuja. You know, they've hoisted their flags, which means that it's now become a Boko Haram territory. What do you make of this, Mr. C?
So here we are again. Every week we've been regaled with statements from the government and its spokespersons that the war on Boko Haram is under control, that they are gaining the upper hand, that their security measures are yielding results. And here we have two local government areas in Niger State, and like you said, 140 kilometers from the seat of power, now under Boko Haram control. Now, the shocking part of this story for some Nigerians, it doesn't shock me anymore. Now, to explain why, is that the governor said he had given the federal government advance notice of this attempt or this move by Boko Haram, and that nothing happened. So let's take a moment, let's take a deep breath and reflect on that. A sitting governor cannot get the attention of the federal government. He belongs to the same political party. What does that portend for the rest of Nigeria? Now, it is shocking that this is the same Niger state that has two former leaders in the presence of Buhari, Babangida and Abdul Salam. They're members of the National Council of State. So if this could happen, especially in Shiroro local government, where there's supposed to be some hydroelectric power installation located there, that goes to show you that very soon there's a coordinated plan by Boko Haram to take over this country. What is equally shocking is the incompetence of the intelligence agencies, that they still appear not to have details of that plan. How can it be so difficult to place your own people within Boko Haram to get details of what they're trying to do and be proactive rather than reactionary? Now that this governor has affirmed this, there has been I haven't seen any official response from the federal government. And it gives the lie to all the statements that we've continued to make over the months, over the past weeks, that everything's under control.
Yeah.
Now, where do we go from here? Because after Niger, I would naturally expect Kogi is next. And once they get to the seat of power, it will be very interesting to see how the politicians in Abuja respond to this. Because I think the idea is it's far away. Zambisa is miles away. Damascus is miles away. Minok is miles away. Now it is coming to their very quarters. Let us see how they respond. But it's shocking news, and it's more reason why Nigerians need to put their elected representatives under the heat. The president must be summoned to explain what is going on. He's accountable to Nigerians. He wasn't elected not to be visible. He has to address the nation on the economy and security. We can no longer continue to read statements from Garba Shehu, who purportedly is acting upon the instruction of the president. We want to see the president. He has to explain to every Nigerian what is going on and stop telling us in a matter of time, in a few months, everything will be all right. you need to give us definite timelines, because
We
we are your
cannot, we
voice.
can, yes, hope is great, but we cannot sustain a nation on hope alone. And thank you very much for pointing that out, Mr. C, with regards to we hearing from our president. His silence is deafening. Yes, we hear from his spokesperson, but at this point in our nation, with hearing the different security uproars here and there, we would expect almost a daily update from him. We need to hear from him what is going to happen, what measures are being taken, what's the plan, and not just, it's just, I mean, let me go to our next story.
Just one more point.
Mhm.
So going forward, especially for the next general elections, it must now become crystal clear to Nigerians. You cannot elect leaders who are not accountable to you. And it must be made clear that part of the job description, part of the job requirements is that you will regularly appear before the people that have elected you, and you will give them the proper updates. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Premium Times reports, and again, another assurance from someone who is speaking on behalf of the president. Buhari eager to end Nigeria's security. Don't laugh too much, please. NBC, they just let us we say the news. Buhari eager to end Nigeria's security challenges, says Gbajabiamila. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has disclosed that President Muhammadu Buhari is eager to ensure a timely solution to the myriad of security challenges facing the nation. Now, it's no longer just, he's going to respond to what's happening in Yobe, what's happening in X, Y, Z state. It's now a myriad of security challenges. There's too many to mention. There are too many to even point fingers. So I'd like he's mentioned a number of things, saying that it has to be quiet. We can't be privy to all the information. We've heard this for too long, Uade. But please take us through this story. What I would expect, when I saw this headline was that who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives truly representing? Because if you're speaking on behalf of the president, saying that, you've spoken to him and he's trying to do things, like Mr. C said, what is the hope of them summoning him to face the Senate, to face the House of Assembly, to answer some questions that Nigerians, representing Nigerians, and asking him those questions? Wade, please take us to the story.
Ayo, eager to ensure a timely solution to the myriad of security challenges facing the nation. How eager are you if you don't speak to the nation? Like Mr. C said, everybody goes to Aso Rock and speaks about security and comes out to tell us that the president is eager, the president is this, the president is that. We all know actions speak louder than all the words that people put out there. And there is no action on this. Day in, day out. If it's not northeast, it's northwest. If it's not northwest, it's southwest. If it's not south, it's all over the country. The security situation in Nigeria has become so alarming. And the president has not one day come out to tell us, we're put this in place, or we're putting this in place. We cannot be privy to all the security information that needs to be done. Yes, we agree. But what have you done? That's the question. What have we done? We have done nothing. Seemingly, we have done nothing, because every day the challenges are increasing. They've sacked two local governments in Niger State. Now, what you're having is a group of terrorists rule places, and we have a Nigerian government that sits idle and says, the president is eager. If you are eager, then we would see the action. We have not seen any action from the president, aside from the statements that come out from the presidency, either from Garba Shehu or Femi Adesina. And this does not augur well with Nigerians. He says, you are aware that the House of Representatives some time ago passed a resolution and we set up an ad hoc committee. We are always setting up ad hoc committees to look into the same things that we have been asking the government of Nigeria to look into. Security experts have come out and tried to say a few things. Nobody. I was listening to a program on radio a few days ago, and it is true that the military is stretched. What is happening to all the other security operatives? What is happening to intelligence? Nothing. Nobody knows what is happening until, another local government has been sacked. And it is,
all right. I mean, honestly,
really,
we want to bring
sad
news that is not so depressing, but we have to state the facts.
Yeah, and the facts remain the same.
Yes, quite
that nothing is
unfortunate.
being done.
Yinka says on what I'm trying to keep up with the messages, they're just flooding in. Yinka says when Gbajabiamila went to visit the president, I was hoping maybe this time the president will speak. Next, I saw was Gbaja outside telling us what the president is eager to do. I almost smashed my TV. The other day, they said the president mourns the death of university students. How? If it's not Femi, it's Garba. If it's not Garba, it's Boss Mustafa or Gambari. There's something called State of the Nation Address. That's what we're expecting the president to do. Chris says terrorists have taken over sections of Niger State and are advancing towards the nation's seat of power, and the federal government is doing nothing. Doesn't that tell us something? As Nigerians have always suspected, we need to find out the root of Boko Haram. Then Goke from UK says, can you summon your boss to give account on anything? Never. PMB is the boss of the current lawmaker, so they can't checkmate his administration on anything. PMB eager to solve security challenges. Do you need eagerness to solve a problem, or you just solve it by actions? Thank you very much indeed, Goke. Let's go on to our next story. Unfortunately, it's another security update. Things fall apart. Short story from the Vanguard. Reactions as Nigerian Air Force mistakenly kill over 20 soldiers. Air Force fighter jet on a mission against Boko Haram extremists mistakenly bombed men of the Nigerian army on Sunday, April 25, killing over 20 officers in Borno. It was gathered that reinforcements, now just to mention that the reinforcement team of the Nigerian army was sent to a community that had been attacked by Boko Haram, and they mistakenly bombed an Air Force fighter jet. Mr. C, I don't even know what to say about the story, but please take us through the story.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Now, the story, so this is the background. On Sunday, fighters belonging to the Islamic State West Africa province-backed faction of Boko Haram attacked a village or town called Mainok in Borno State. Mm-hmm. Now, they were attacking the 156 TF battalion that is stationed there. Now, whilst that battalion was under attack, they radioed for reinforcements. Now, the Boko Haram insurgents came in a military convoy with about 14 vehicles. 4 of them were mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles. These are specialized vehicles, and they were reportedly dressed in the combat fatigues operational uniforms of the Nigerian Army. Now, this is very important. Now, whilst they were being repelled, reinforcements came from the Nigerian Army Super Camp, the 7th Division, and the 4th Super Camp. Now, these reinforcements came from Ngamadu and were on their way to Mainok. Now, the Nigerian Air Force scrambled a fighter jet, and bombed the wrong coordinates. Now, the initial comment coming out was that everybody was dressed alike. Mm. But it speaks to the incompetence that is becoming the Nigerian Air Force. I'm sorry to say this. And my heart, I should have started this way. We lost 7 soldiers, the commanding officer of that battalion and 6 soldiers who died gallantly in battle, and our thoughts go out to their families. Yeah. But the Nigerian Air Force is becoming, there's something wrong with the Nigerian Air Force. A few weeks back, a surveillance aircraft of the Nigerian Air Force that was sent to carry out operations with regards to the Kagara boys who were kidnapped crashed in Abuja. Fast forward a few weeks later, a fighter jet crashes, conflicting accounts as to whether it was shot down or it crashed. Reports from both incidents yet to be released. Now we have Nigerian Air Force bombing 20 of its counterpart colleagues from the Nigerian Army. How do you have the wrong coordinates? The reinforcement troops are on their way to Mainok. Yeah. How did you hit them? And do you not have real-time information, real-time placement of your troops? Is there no base camp where they're monitoring everything real-time with drones, with aerial tech? So this story of Nigerian Air Force, the official position is they are investigating the reports. Clearly, that investigation has not been concluded, and I do not expect to see any reports.
Right.
But
Samuel from Lekki, sorry, Mr. C just says this mistake by Air Force in destroying military truck is unacceptable. Can they have unique identifiers on military vehicles like GPS, RFIDs, so our
so
military air vehicles will be able to identify ground forces? Yeah.
two quick points. Sorry, two quick points. One, is the Nigerian Army uniform so common now that anybody can pick it up? That's one. Two, the vehicles the Boko Haram insurgents came with to Mainok are not vehicles you buy from your local car mart. They're not vehicles you just pick up anywhere. You need special licenses, and only a few people make those type of vehicles. Has any concerted efforts been made to track who bought those vehicles, where those vehicles were dispatched to, so that we can then tie up the back end of the financing of these Boko Haram insurgents, and a government that is truly serious and competent to resolve this matter goes after the financing and supply routes, breaks those chains, and you break their morale.
Well
all right, we need
Mr.
to
C.
move on. We need to move on to the next story. Please, if you don't mind, because I would like for us to touch on a few other things. Uade, you wanted to say something, but I'd like you to touch on
I wanted us to move into the next story based on what Mr. C was saying.
Excellent. So the next story is on strike action. Labour Ministry demands apology from JUSUN, which is the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, and PASAN, which is the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, for walking out on the minister, Senator Chris Ngige, last week. Bear in mind that they were to come to the negotiation table to talk about issues, and the minister kept them waiting for 2 hours, and they walked off. And now the minister or the ministry is saying that it's an insult to the minister. They need to apologize without addressing the issues on ground. Please take us through this.
A brilliant way to start this conversation. I can't remember the Yoruba saying properly, but I'll just say it in English. An elder who doesn't respect himself does not deserve respect, and that is what has happened here. You don't call people for a meeting, and it happens every time with government people. You come for a meeting, you say it's 10 o'clock, people are there, you keep them for 2 hours, you come in, no explanation, nothing. And now you are demanding, an apology. For me, it's disrespectful for you to bring in people and say, let's come to a negotiating table. And then you keep them for 2 hours. And I'm sure you come in, no apology, and then you still insist on, oh, this is the way government wants to look at it. I don't know that's not what the story says, but that's basically what I see from here. Now you are demanding an apology from them. That's one of the statements is our conference room is like our own court. You can go to the court and desecrate it, or go to the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly and be singing protest songs. This is completely disrespectful of government to say this kind of things. What exactly do we need to do to put the things? What are they fighting for? There has been an executive order. There has been a change in the law. Until today, every state, the federal government refuses to give the judiciary autonomy. So what exactly are we talking about? And each time they go on strike, you come back to the same place and say, oh, let's negotiate. You negotiate, you agree to the things, and those terms and conditions that have been agreed to, you never put them in place. I totally support the action. And for me, I believe they don't need to apologize for someone who has not respected them. You don't have an office that commands respect, and you don't give other people respect. So what are you saying? These people just came in and wasted 2 hours of their time waiting for you. It's a shame.
Right. Well, let's that's the thing. Distractions here and there. Let's face the issues. They had an issue on the table, and what you're talking about is they walked off on you. You came in late. It's like some people would say anyhowness. Bemi says on WhatsApp, we don't care about what he has to say. The only thing we want is for him to resolve the security issues facing the nation. B on YouTube says, the daily myriad of issues facing our country is exhausting. I can only praise Nigerians for their resilience, and I guess this is what the leaders rely on. We have to stop being so passive. And thanks, Don Pius. He says, the work of the Nigerian media is increasingly becoming more difficult, knowing that each day you are coming to the studio to read negative news to Nigerians. It's a miracle that so many of you guys aren't suffering from depression. It's been one insecurity report too many. Very well said, Don Pius. I'm glad you identified that, because it's not an easy place to be, to have to read through, filter through, try to get something that would hang on to a thread of rope and come on and still be concerned that what you say should not put you in trouble or not. Thank you. Right, this day newspaper reports, Mr. C, electricity tariffs may rise in July, according to the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory, or as the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission NERC plans review. This is disclosed in the Notice of Minor and Extraordinary Review of Tariffs for Electricity Transmission and Distribution Companies, a development that might lead to a rise in the tariffs payable by electricity users. Mr. C, please break this down for us.
Okay, so very quickly. The multi-year tariff order provides for a minor review of the tariff rates every 6 months and a major review once every 5 years. However, it also provides for an extraordinary review when the parameters used in arriving at the tariffs and operating practices have changed so materially that to maintain the viability of the sector, they have to be reviewed. Now, let's not forget that a minor increase in the tariffs was effected on the 1st of April this month. We're still in that month. And now we're looking at an extraordinary review. And some of the reasons given were inflation. The rate of inflation has increased, the availability of foreign exchange, gas prices, available generation capacity, and the capital expenditure required to evacuate the power generated and distribute it and transmit it to the distribution companies. Now, what this means is that Nigerians need to constantly remember that we are not paying cost-effective tariffs, and that the real cost of generating and providing electricity is still not fully borne by the Nigerian consumer. Now, it may seem very unfair and very harsh to say this, but the Nigerian government has not only been subsidizing petrol, it's also been subsidizing electricity. And the truth of the matter is, most of the components these electricity companies require, from the generation to the transmission to the distribution, are elements and equipment that are manufactured and sourced outside the country. And you need forex to do that. Now, some of them took loans denominated in foreign currency, and each day the Naira takes a battery in the exchange markets, it also impacts on their balance sheets. So the truth of the matter is we have two ticking time bombs, because we need to remove the subsidies on power and petrol. And given the general state of the economy, I'm not envious of our leaders, and I wouldn't want to be there now, but they need to be creative, and they need to sort this out. But Nigerians need to understand, even beyond this extraordinary review, there will still be subsequent reviews until we get to the real cost of power in this country. Sadly.
Thank you so much, Mr. C. That's all we can take this morning. We're out of time. However, just as a way of mention, Nigeria expecting 29.8 million doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. And also doctored videos against me. Cummins says, Pantami still speaking through his representative. We cannot go into details of this story because of our time, but thank you so much, Mr. C. Mr. C is at Mr. C on Twitter. And of course, thank you very much, Uade. Uade is at We Inc. Nigeria on Twitter. You can find us at Smooth 981 FM. If you'd like to still continue the conversation, make sure you use the hashtag freshlypressed981 so we can see your comment. If you'd like to watch a playback of today's edition, go on to YouTube, youtube.com/Smooth 981 FM Lagos, and you would see today's edition there. Let's take this conversation on at 9 o'clock during Lagos Talks 981. We'll open the phone lines, and you can, the messages I couldn't read, please call us then at that time. Let's discuss the headlines for today. In about 12 minutes, we'll bring you today's edition of Grapevine 981. Hopefully, it's a step down from the very, from the stories we've had to deal with this morning in Freshly Pressed 981. So do join us for some entertainment break at 8:15. It's still Smooth 98.1. Stay tuned.
The headlines.
Thank you, Ayo.
Thank you so much, Mr. C. Thanks everyone for watching.
Have a great day.
Uade, thank you. Have a good day too.